This is Diane Mourglia-Swerdlow coming to you from the basement of my home. The reason I am down here is because there's so much controversy over steam distilled water, and I recently had my steam distiller cleaned. So I want to tell you a little bit about steam distilled water, what we do and why we do, and show you some of the results of why you want to consider using steam distilled water as well if you are not. So I want to start right here by showing you, this is my whole house water filter. This I got from Patricia. Many of you are familiar with her, events@expansions.com. This is a whole house water filter, and what this does is it takes the fluoride out as well as the chlorine that's in it and those kind of things. So it goes through a UV filter here, a UV light, and it helps us as far as not soaking this into our skin when we bathe and when we drink our water. I use it for my cooking water, some of my cooking water anyway. But it does take out those kind of nasty things that I don't want in my body. You want to remember that your skin is the largest eliminative organ in your body, and also it absorbs. So when you bathe or you shower, you're absorbing in your fluoride and your chlorine, which if you can avoid that, of course, at all costs, that's the best thing. So this is my whole house filter. Now after that, I have a line, a plumbing line, that comes over here to my steam distiller. And this steam distiller is one that I got after a tabletop model that does, I think it did about 2 liters at a time, which we actually wore out. But we used it, we used it, we used it. We went to this. This company I don't believe is in business any longer, but you can probably find something comparable online. This holds 25 gallons at a time. It's processed through the top, and we have a spigot down here. You can see along with our snowshoe Siamese cat, who was a rescue cat, Sapphire. This is where I get my drinking water from. I have gallon jugs upstairs. We come down here and we fill it and we haul it upstairs. Now, a couple times a year, we actually have to clean this. And the unit that actually does the work is in this section right here. And what it does is it takes the water from my whole house filter and it turns it to steam. And anything that is not steam falls down and is cleaned out. And what we drink then is the steam cools down, and that's what we drink. So everything that was in the steam that was left after the whole house filter falls out. And because I just had it cleaned a couple of days ago, I thought you might be interested to see what it is that you are putting in your body if you're not drinking steam distilled water. So here you go. This, I'm going to lay out my paper towel that I brought down here for you to see. This, and you can hear it, listen, it's hard. Okay? This is what you're putting in your body. This is a very small portion of what comes out of my unit. This is what we clean out a couple times a year. It's very sharp, it's very hard. You can see how it, listen. Okay. This is what you're putting in your body and in your veins. So when people tell you, oh, you don't want to have steam distilled water because you don't want to lose out on all the minerals, I don't want this in my body. I don't know about you, I do not want this in my body. That's why I take approximately a half a teaspoon of high quality Celtic sea salt at least once a day, because that gives me my minerals. I don't want this mineral. And unfortunately, so I can't even break this with my hands. Oh, there it went. That's how hard it is. So it's very hard, and it goes in there and it destroys your veins. It embeds itself in your cells. I don't want to drink this, and I don't think you do either, but of course that's your choice. So with that said, I'm going to take you on up to the kitchen, but I did want you to see this because it only happens a couple times a year that I have access to these hard chips, and I wanted you to be able to make a more informed decision about what you are putting into your body. So with that, let's go upstairs and let me show you what I've got cooking in the kitchen. Okay, here we are up in the kitchen now. I want to show you what I've been baking and what I've been playing with and testing and demonstrating, and we'll see how it turns out because everything is kind of new and fun for me, just as it is for you. I want to remind you that you want to be sure to use your creative energy positively. And what you see the results of in my kitchen are the results of my creative energy, because not only am I creating for you every day on the website, but I enjoy cooking, because what does cooking represent? It represents the mind patterns. So I explore different ingredients, I explore different combinations, and that has to do with what I'm exploring with my mind and I present to you. So I'm doing my best to use my creative energy in a positive way, and I invite you to do the same. And so I tell you, just as you watch me, that not everything is going to turn out perfect or the way you want it in your mind. That's all right, because it's part of the exploration process. That's what makes life enjoyable, and that's what makes you feel so good when you get on the other side and hey, something works, or you've made a breakthrough. So that's the way it is supposed to be. So allow your creative energy to flow, but please use it positively, not like the global handlers would have you use it negatively. So with that said, let me show you what my latest creation has been. Over here I've got my ingredients laid out for you. I have been making some sweet potato biscuits. Last week I showed you the flour making process that I've been experimenting with. This again is the buckwheat groats, which I ran through my spice mill, which is a handy little tool to have. And as I will remind you, this is not a grain, this is actually an herb. It has all 8 essential amino acids in it, and it's also known to help regulate blood sugar. So I've been working a lot with this, and of course I have some whole almonds, which again I run through my spice mill to make the almond meal, which only has 24 carbs per cup. So in here I have 1 cup of buckwheat flour, and I have 1 cup of almond meal, and that's going to be the base for my biscuits. The almond meal is a little bit moist, and of course the buckwheat flour is very dry, so that will help to mitigate some of the dampness that goes in your almond meal. Now, one thing I also want to tell you was I ran out of almonds. I've had them in my freezer for a long time, so I was online kind of looking around a little bit. And what I found is that a lot of places that are selling organic almond meal recommend that you keep it in your refrigerator or freezer. That is why I like to grind my own, because I don't know how long it's been sitting around. What if you buy it already done? If it's not possible for you, use that. It's what you, if that's what you can get what you can get. I right now am buying my nuts, just so you know, and some of my other seeds from livingtreecommunity.com. livingtreecommunity.com. I found their quality to be very good. Their prices are a little high, I will tell you that. However, as I've also mentioned, that the better quality you feed your body, the less you require. So while the initial prices may seem a little higher, you will eat less. And of course, that creates a healthier body, and it will trim and slim you. You do need to notice when you're full and not just eating for either entertainment or for emotional reasons. But anyway, that's a good place to get your nuts, so that you know. So I'm going to move this aside. And then next I have here, this is 1 cup of mashed organic sweet potato, and I baked them this morning. As you can, I baked them at 425 for approximately 40 minutes to an hour, depending upon what's going on. The peels are very good. I took them off for this. I'm going to feed them to my dogs for their breakfast tomorrow, because the peels are very good for you. But for this, it doesn't require the peel. And you could put it in if you want. Depends on what you like. These, once they're done, you can reheat them with some butter. You can also fry them in a little olive oil, which I like. They will burn a little easily because they're high in sugar content. They're full of vitamin A, so they're very good for you. So anyway, in is going to go 1 cup of my mashed sweet potato. And also one last aside here, I always, if I'm going to make sweet potatoes for here, and if I have them on hand, I'm going to make extra, because then I won't have to do the same thing later. So conserve your energy. To that, I'm actually going to add about a half a teaspoon of good quality sea salt. And I have here 1 tablespoon of aluminum-free baking powder. That's also going to go in. And stir the dry things. I should have done that before I put in before I put in the sweet potato, but I didn't, so that will help it. Okay. Then I have here a 1/4 cup of almond milk, so delicious. And that's going to be part of my liquid. And I have a 1/4 cup of organic plain sheep's milk yogurt. And again, basically what you need is a 1/2 cup of liquid. So you can use what you have. If it's buttermilk, if it's cow's milk, if it's yogurt, sour cream, whatever works for you. Just basically need about a 1/2 cup of liquid. This is the combination I like. The yogurt will give your biscuits kind of a flakier type of texture. And I also am going to cut into that. This is a 1/2 cup. This is goat butter, and I have cubed it so that it's soft and helps to work into the dough a little bit easier. So, that's 1 stick for those of you who like that kind of visuals, 1 stick of your traditional cow butter is going to go in. You can see that's going to soften now, and that'll all mix together really nicely. And the last bit of liquid I'm going to put in is 2 tablespoons of maple syrup, which I have here. And again, if you can put in a different kind of sweetener, some of you want to use agave syrup. It's not what you think it is, so I do not recommend the agave syrup. And Dr. Mercola actually has a very good book out called Sweet Deceptions. If you've not read that book, it's been out for a number of years. But he has excellent things written. His research is very, very good. He talks about common things that people are starting to substitute. And I just suggest you please try and go as natural as you can. The maple syrup I actually get it from the source, or if people bring it to me, I know their source. So I am doing my best to put into my body the most purest, closest to source that I possibly can, which of course, as you know, is what I do with my mind pattern. I don't want a lot of junk going into my mind, and therefore I do not want a bunch of junk going into my body. And again, I want to know my source. I want to go as high as I can, as fast as I can, keep the information as pure as I can. And like you, that doesn't mean I'm perfect at it. It means I'm still exploring, just like you, but it means I feel I'm making progress, and I get my confirmation from my oversoul, and that is exactly where I expect you to get your confirmation from. So we're going to mix this together, and it's going to be a heavier dough. Now, if you want, you can actually add a little bit extra flour to it and roll it out and cut it if you want and make it more biscuit looking. However, for myself, again, I'm not going to fool with it, nor do I want to add more carbs, because the way I have it figured out per biscuit, it's around 10 carbs, which is pretty good for my family's requirements. But it is a nice dough, and the butter makes it very light and flaky. So these are really great biscuits, a nice accompaniment. I'm going to have, I showed you the chicken last week that I fried up with the crumbs, and I use almond meal, and I also use the pecorino romano, which was very good. And one thing I forgot to tell you about that chicken recipe, another thing that you can use is you can add in unsweetened coconut, which is good. And of course, I gave you at one point my peanut sauce, which I make with some butter, peanut coconut sauce, so you can look that up on the internet too. And that's excellent dipping sauce, especially if you want to use the unsweetened coconut with your chicken. All right, you can see what a really nice batter that is. There might be a little bit more in the bottom, but it's really nice. And I'm not going to cook all of these because I'm going to save some for my dinner. I like to cook everything fresh. I mentioned to you this before. It's very easy. You prepare it just when everything's just about ready to go on the table. Then you put in your whatever bread or whatever type of side like this you want to make, and then it comes out piping hot, and that's the way I like to eat it. So I have my tray. I did put some parchment paper on here, and I'm going to tell you why. The last time I made the biscuits, they browned a little bit too much on the bottom because, as I mentioned, the sweet potato has a certain amount of sugar in it, plus we did add a little bit of the maple syrup, and I want to keep them from browning. And I lowered my oven temperature this time too. If they brown too much, plan B is going to be I'm going to steam them, and one of these days I'm going to show you how I steam bread, which is also kind of a fun thing to do and gives a little different flavor. But we're going to experiment together and see how they turn out. So I'm just going to cook enough, so we're going to see if this is going to work. I have it at 375. I'm going to put it in here for about 8 minutes, and then I'm going to check it to see what it looks like. As I said, I'm experimenting. You're going to watch me experiment. We'll figure it out together and see if this is what we want to do or not want to do the next time. So I'm going to set this aside and go on to the next interesting thing I'm going to show you. Okay, I hope you remember that last week I showed you I reminded you about the fermented vegetables. So this has been fermenting about a week now, and I want you to see their progress. At 1 week, you can eat it, but I'm going to let it go one more. So I'm going to unwrap the towel, and here's the jug of water that we set on it. And you can see the fermentation juices on top, and there's a little bit of, you see the little bit of a bubble here. That is it's all around the edges. That is your good bacteria that's bubbling up. And if you remember, this is actually sitting on a plate. You can see, kind of see the edges of the plate in here. I don't want to disturb underneath too much, but you can see it's really sealed in there. And down below here in the bowl, you can see the vegetables going on. So they're fermenting. As I said, it's a week. You can eat it, but I'm going to leave it one more because for me, that's the taste I like the best. So I'm going to rewrap this to keep it in the dark. It does have a pungent odor about it, although I don't mind it. I kind of like the smell. It's nice to know that I have things over here cooking and percolating. And next week, with luck, I will show you what's in there because remember last week we experimented as well. I laid some whole asparagus spears in there, which I have not done. And I also have a recipe that I'm working on developing, which is fermenting whole green beans and other things. So anyway, in a whole instead of ground and grated. It should be fun, but I haven't gotten quite that far yet. So for now, we're going to focus on this type of fermented vegetables. So with that said, I want you again to remember our topic this month in April's membership blog, Attitudes and Aptitudes. So the biscuits are fun, and the next thing I'm going to show you is going to be fun too because you want to have a good attitude for everything that's going on in your life. And many of you, of course, are used to making smoothies. I want to show you a smoothie that I've come across that I really like, which is very easy and is fun. And it's maybe different than what you're doing and maybe not. But anyway, I'm going to share. This is my food processor, and this is the blade I'm going to use to make it with. And what I use is about roughly 2 cups of ice. I'm going to go in there. And most of you are familiar by now. Again, we put this in the biscuits. Remember, I try and get the same things, and I kind of adapt them to a variety of recipes that I like. This is the unsweetened, and I put in about 1/2 cup of this, approximately, to my 2 cups of ice. And then I add to that from the coconut milk that comes in the can, which of course is a blend of the water and the meat, about 1/2 cup of that as well. And this is going to make it smooth and creamy. I think that's probably about enough. And to that, I have frozen in my ice cube tray. These are strawberries that I got from Cindy that have been mashed up and cooked together with some stevia. And I put in about 6 cubes of this. Now I've tried it just without freezing the fruit, and I like the result a little bit better with the frozen fruit. You can freeze anything, of course. You know, bananas you can throw in. You can put in whole chunks of fruit, and whatever you can get depending on your area. But this is a combination that I particularly like. And if you want, you can put in yogurt instead of the coconut milk, but I like the coconut milk combination. And I'm going to show you, we're just going to blend it together, how nice it turns out. All right, let's check it and see what it looks like in there. Ah, beautiful. Okay, you can see it's like a nice sherbet in there. It's very smooth and creamy. And you can add, if you want, you can add some cocoa powder to it if you like the chocolate taste, and cocoa powder is very good for you. You can also add sun butter and cocoa powder. You can experiment. But besides your fruit, you can make other taste sensations, which are great. Mine always wind up with a few ice cubes stuck in there. I just pull them out when I'm done. But it's like having a nice sherbet. And as the summer comes on, these are really a nice treat to have. Very low carb, very tasty. And anyway, it's one of my favorites, so I want to share that with you. While we were doing other things, I have been checking my biscuits because the first time I did it was 425 and it turned out to be too hot. So I took it down to 375, but they were going very slow. So in between, I put up to 400. I think that's where you need to bake your biscuits at. And as far as length of time, my guess is going to be between 10 and 15 minutes, but you might need a little bit more because I bake them a little bit slower. So I'm going to go ahead and take them out. We're going to take a look and see what they look like at this point. Okay, that looks good. Now, what you can do, many of you may have done this before, is you can just take a toothpick, or you can take a sharp knife, and you just stick it in to see if it's done. And that's because I'm still experimenting, so a little bit sticks, but I'm still okay with that. There aren't any eggs or any raw ingredients that are going to bother you, so I think it's going to look nice inside. So let me get a knife, cut one open for you, and let's see what we've got. I'll grab a plate too. And then if you will conserve it like this, you can serve it with just a little bit of butter. But the ones I had before were really, really nice. Let me check the bottom. Oh yeah, beautiful. See, the others I did were way too brown and I don't like that. So, I'm just gonna cut it open like this. Ah, nice. Put a little butter on to melt it and close it back up. And you're set to go, so delicious. Alrighty, so I know what we're having for dinner tonight. And I hope you're going to have a good dinner yourself. Be sure and take care of you. Again, whether it's one person, whether it's a dozen people, doesn't matter. You're worth it. You deserve it. I hope that you're enjoying the April's Attitudes and Aptitudes right along with me. I hope that you listened to Rupert, which was a fabulous, fabulous show on Infinite Realities this past Sunday. If not, we do have the archives up. His story is in the Deprogramming Journal, which is really interesting. And he was a great guest. So there's so many things going on. My health and healing seminar, of course, is coming up this weekend. I look forward to seeing you there as well. Stewart will be in South Africa in June. We are putting in August an hyperspace oversoul immersion class, which is going to be really great. 5 days, the first part of August, so watch the website. And of course, we have our seminar coming up in September, Storehouse of Knowledge, which is going to be amazing. And then right after that, we're heading for Russia. So if you want to use the transformative power of the bear frequency in the land of the rose, this is the trip for you. Amazing, amazing things coming up at expansions.com. Thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to interacting with you and however you wish to interact with us. Take care. Bye-bye.